Hi friends, konnichiwa. I have been wanting to make my own miso. So today I'm going to use garbanzo beans, salt, and koji to make my own miso. Usually it's done with soybeans, but I'm going to use garbanzo beans because I've read that any beans work. So first I'm going to soak this 1 pound of garbanzo beans for a day. So I'm just going to empty them out, clean the bowl, meaning if any ugly looking ones, gross looking ones are in there, just pick them out, toss them out. But I'm just going to soak them with a good amount of water above the beans because they will definitely grow. This is the beans after a day. They have some of that foamy stuff on top. I'm just going to drain all of that water in this colander right here, and then we will put it in the Instant Pot. So dump that into our Instant Pot. I've covered it with water, and make sure you put it into the sealed position or else it will not get up to pressure. And we are going to set this on high pressure, manual cook for 20 minutes. It is cooked. Let's check what happened. Okay, there is some foaminess on top. We'll definitely have to skim that off and get rid of that. But let's check the consistency of these garbanzo beans. Be careful because it is hot, but it should be smushable. Definitely passes the smush test. Very technical word. And remember to save some of that cooking liquid because if it's too dry when you're processing it or mashing it, you'll want to add some back in. So I am using a food processor. You can mash it by hand, you can do other methods, but I've read that this is the fastest probably way to do this. And so we are processing it. And I'll go little by little so that I don't completely mash it, but here we go. And now that I'm seeing it, smaller batches probably would have been better so it doesn't look like hummus here, but just make sure there are no big chunks left. And we're gonna check the temperature because if it's too hot, it will kill the koji when we add it. So it is still a little hot. We are going to wait a little bit longer. In the meantime, let's mix our dry ingredients that we are going to be adding when it cools down. I'm using a scale to measure out my 450 grams of koji. Again, this can be purchased at any Japanese market. 452, close enough. And if you haven't seen my Marukai video, feel free to check it out. The link is in the description. You can also buy koji from Amazon, and that link is also in the description if that is your preference. But feel free to check out my other videos for using koji, especially shio-koji, which is just salt and koji, just like I'm doing right here with some water. There's so many different ways, and it's so good for your health. So today we're experimenting with miso, but check out that other video for other things you can do with it. Okay, 180 grams of salt is what we're going for, 181. Again, I say close enough. So here we go, and we are going to mix this all up. I'm just going to use my hands. I have washed my hands thoroughly, and here it is, all mixed up, ready to mix in. We want the cooled beans and the koji mixture, koji salt mixture, to be mixed really well together. So take your time and get this all mixed up really, really well. If it's too dry, you can add some of that reserved liquid. I'm adding a very little bit at a time because I do not want this to be super moist, as that could allow for bad bacteria to grow. So I'm just doing enough so it'll come together a little bit because we will be rolling into balls and really smushing it into the jar that we want to keep it in. Okay, jar stuffing time. So we want to use a sanitized jar. Again, we don't want any sort of bad bacteria to have a foothold in here. So I have wiped it with some alcohol first, just to clean it, especially. Now we're rolling into balls and throw it in there, mash it in. This might be some stress release for you. It's kind of fun, actually. So give it a try. Just keep rolling those baseballs in your hand or snowballs, whatever you want to call it, and keep smashing them into the jar a little bit at a time. And the smashing helps get rid of any air, get rid of any gaps that, again, might foster some of the bad bacteria that we do not want. Okay, we have stuffed this down, and that's how it looks from the top, from the side. It's pretty high up there, but we want to leave some space, and I don't want the top part to mold where there's some pieces on there of food and koji and whatnot. And so I'm just going to take some alcohol and wipe this with a paper towel that has some of that alcohol on there to sanitize, to just get rid of any spots. Now let's take some plastic wrap. We want to cover that top of where the miso ends so that we can put some weight on top of it and really seal out as much of the air and bad stuff that we can. We want this to ferment, and as we're waiting, we don't want that bacteria again to get in. So we are going to seal this up, and then we are also going to put a weight on top of that wrap so that everything really gets kept out. I'm going to be honest with you though, I am having a hard time getting this wrap to stay because it is not sticking to the sides or the what it's going to be miso. So I put it as best as I can, then I topped it with a weighted bag. I used rice just in a plastic bag and stuck it up there, and hopefully this is a really good seal and that there's no bad bacteria going in there. I did the best I can. And I'm adding a filter on top just in case. I do this with my kombucha too. If you haven't seen my kombucha video, that is also in the description. But we're just topping this, nothing get in hopefully, except for the good stuff that I want to stay in and come in. Now it's really a waiting game, and I am going to write the date on here because I have a tendency to forget. So if I write the date on here, then I know when to check for it. In 3 months, I'll see how it's doing, and in 6 months, it should be usable. So, hope this was helpful. Subscribe, comment, and I'll see you next time.